What we're doing now is we're studying this chapter that is called the Gilded Age. Gilded means something that looks good on the outside but has problems on the inside. And I think as we move on, you're beginning to see some of the problems that we have. Some of them we're dealing with, some of them we're going to be dealing with for a long time. One of the problems was we had to settle the West. And one of the first things we did is build the Transcontinental Railroad. And it's built, and it's done. And we talked about that. And we're going to build 4 more, okay? Then we also found out that we needed people to go out there, so we have what is called the Homestead Act. Now what do you get out of that?
160 acres.
163 acres of land at the head of each family, but you got to live on it for
5 years.
So now people by the thousands begin to move out to the west, but they have to go in covered wagons because the railroad hadn't been completed or finished at that time, okay? Then we found out when the white man begins going across to the west that there are Indians out there, Native Americans, and they're not happy because what are the 2 things we begin doing to them? What do we begin doing to them?
We start moving them.
We start what?
Moving them. You kill their buffalo.
All right, we start killing their buffalo,
Moves them.
and we also start stealing their land. The Indians now begin to get angry, they begin to get mad, and we're going to have wars. Then we're going to put all the Indians on reservations, we're going to control their lives, and then we're going to do the worst thing, which is Americanize them. So we talked a little bit about that. Then we talked about when we left Wednesday, is there an emphasis on education in those days?
Yes.
Big time, especially college. And so they passed a law called the Moral Land Grant Act. How much land is each state going to get to build colleges?
30,000 acres.
Well, if you mark that on the test, that'll be wrong.
Oh no, I don't know that.
How much land is each state going to get?
30,000, but 30,000 for each representative.
30,000 acres of land for each member that state has in
Congress.
Now, what happens if you don't build colleges on that land?
They take it away from
They're going to take it away from you. Now, in this class, in this chapter, we've introduced 3 laws. The moral tariff law, what did that do?
It says the United States has a high tariff.
The United States is going to be a high tariff nation. Homestead Act, 163 acres of land, you got to live on it for 5 years. Now we have the Moral Land Grant Act. Now you're going to get 30,000 acres of free land for each member in Congress to build colleges on, okay? All right, so we talked all about that before we left. And probably one of the biggest problems we have in the United States at this time is big business. And if you describe big business, they are powerful. Why?
Because they have money.
Money. Money equals power. They're also extremely greedy, and they're corrupt. They don't care who they step on, who they hurt, as long as they make money. That's all they care about. And here's my little guy up here, big business. You'll notice he's got a big mouth and sharp teeth. He's out to get rid of all his competition. Anybody that's going to cause problems for him, he's going to get rid of it. He can do it because money equals power. And he's got a tremendous amount of power. Now, let me ask you this. Today, in the year 2014, who are some of the richest and most powerful men or women in this country today?
Bill Gates.
Who?
Bill Gates.
Bill Gates.
Pat Turner.
And what did Bill Gates do?
He created Microsoft.
Microsoft. So he's one of the wealthiest, richest, most powerful men in the U.S., right? Give me another name.
Pat Turner.
Who?
Pat Turner.
And what did he do?
He filed a lawsuit against Ford and won millions of dollars.
He what, how much?
Millions. A lot.
Okay. Give me another one.
The Apple guy.
Who?
The one that died. Steve, there you go.
What did he do?
He invented
Apple.
Apple.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oprah. She's pretty rich too.
Now, when you say Oprah Winfrey, she's probably one of the wealthiest and most powerful women in the United States. These people are These people are the ones that you call the giants in the business world today. But who are the giants in these days?
Those people.
And they used to call them the titans. Titans is just another word for giant. These men owned the United States, ran the United States, controlled the United States, and controlled the U.S. government because they had money, and money equals power. So let me introduce you to these four men. The first one that you have is a man by the name of J.P. Morgan. We'll be talking about him almost the whole year. J.P. Morgan is the banking king of the United States. That's powerful. He controlled the banks in the United States. The second man that you're going to meet is a guy by the name of John Rockefeller. John Rockefeller is the oil king of the United States. He controls 90 to 95% of all the oil in the United States. Then you're going to meet a man by the name of Cornelius Vanderbilt. Cornelius Vanderbilt is the railroad king of the United States.
Is the college Vanderbilt or the university is it named after him?
He's not only named after him, he built it and gave it to the public. That's how powerful he is. Then you also have Andrew Carnegie. And Andrew Carnegie is the steel king of the United States. These men built America. They built big business. They are powerful. Now let's go to today. J.P. Morgan, do you hear his name?
Yes.
Oh yeah, you do. Give me some names of banks.
Wells Fargo.
Bank of America.
Wells Fargo.
Who?
Wells Fargo.
Wells Fargo. What? Government Employees Credit Union. Anything else?
Federal.
What? Chase Bank? Do you know the real name of Chase? J.P. Morgan Chase Bank. That's the real name today. J.P. Morgan Chase Bank. Then you got this man, John Rockefeller. How many of you been to New York?
Is it like Jay-Z?
What?
Well, yeah, Jay-Z involved with that company or whatever.
Well, if you go into New York, you're going to see Rockefeller Plaza, Rockefeller Center, everything named after Rockefeller. If you check the richest people in the United States on the list today, you're going to see Rockefeller, Rockefeller, Rockefeller. Those are his family members. They're still powerful today. When you talk about Cornelius Vanderbilt, you go into Tennessee and there's a major university called Vanderbilt University. He built it and gave it to the people. Then you're going to see this man, Andrew Carnegie. Those of you that are into music or play instruments or you sing, the place to play, the elite place to play is Carnegie Hall in New York. When you go into Carnegie Hall, only the best play there. Carnegie built that building and gave it to the people. J.P. Morgan, Rockefeller, Vanderbilt, Carnegie. These are the giants of the business world today. They interviewed Andrew Carnegie one day. And they said, Mr. Carnegie, is it true that you control the steel in the United States? And Carnegie said, yes, I do. He says, is it true that you sell your steel since you have a monopoly and you control it all, that you sell it at high prices? He says, yes, I do. He says, what about the people? What about the public who has to pay all these high prices? You know what his response was?
I don't care.
The hell with the people. The hell with the public. I really don't care. I don't care. All I care about is what?
Money.
Making money. That's all I care about. They don't care about you. They don't care how much you suffer. They don't care what happens. All they care is about making money. That's a big problem in the United States in those days. All right, now, here's what I want to take a look at right here. How corrupt can these guys be?
A lot.
So I'm going to give you, in this chapter, I'm going to give you at least 2 or 3 stories just to show you how corrupt. You won't believe what the government will do, big business will do to get money. You won't believe. It's almost unbelievable. But let me give you this. You remember the law we talked about last week, the Homestead Act?
Yes.
163 acres of land to the head of each Family got to live on it for 5 years, right? The Homestead Act. Well, look over here, who's looking at the Homestead Act?
Big business.
Big business. And they're looking free land. Are we talking free land? 160 acres? The government's looking like, big business now is saying, you know what? Is there any possible way that I could cheat? Get some of that land? Anybody come up with some ideas?
They
Send people.
What?
They send people for them. That they send people for them.
Well, if you send people, they're gonna take the land as theirs.
Pay them.
You move your family out there and then you take that land.
Gotta live on it for 5 years.
Yeah, and you put your business on that land.
Yeah, but you gotta live there for 5 years. You gonna wait 5 years?
No.
That land won't be yours. Business wants it now. So here's what they're gonna do.
Buy it from people that already live there.
They what?
Like, buy it from people that already live there.
You can't sell it, it's not yours.
People live there for like.
Then you're gonna have to wait 5 years. And at the end of 5 years, after they cultivate the land, build a farm, build a house, they're not gonna sell it to
They'll
you.
pay the government for it.
Government has nothing to do with this. They're giving you the land. Here's what they did. To cheat, they created fake families.
Oh,
Oh, like the,
What does fake mean?
they're not real.
They're not real. They came up with a name of a man, a woman, and 3 children, filled out the paperwork, gave it to the government, got 163 acres of land.
Oh.
And they did it again and again and again and again. Until how much do you think they stole?
A lot. 100.
80 million acres of land. How many families make up 80 million? You'd have to divide 160 into 80 million, and you've got several 100,000 families. And they got away with it, and they walked away. Is that corrupt?
Yes.
That's just one of tons of stories that they'll do and big business will do also, and the government. All right, now, I want to take one of these giants, Vanderbilt, and let's talk a little bit about him, because he's going to come up with a new idea in business that we still use and is the backbone of business today. Mr. Vanderbilt, you know that he is the railroad. He's the railroad king. He controls the railroads. When you see cartoons of him, you'll see him as a giant. He has chains. And he looks down, and there are little railroads and people out there. And he's got the chains on the railroad. He's controlling the railroads. He's big business. He's a railroad king. But a lot of these millionaires started from the bottom to the top. And so did he. When he was young, he had a river where he lived. And people had to get across.
The river.
So as a young boy, 14, 15 years old, Vanderbilt said, yeah, you know, I got some money here. So he went into the woods, cut trees down, made a raft. Then he tied rope from one end to the other, and then people needed to get across the river. He said, I'll take you, I'll charge you, and he charged them money. And they got on the raft, and he pulled the rope, and the raft go to the other side. There's people on the other side who wanted to come this way. They paid him, and he started a business. Then he said, I need a bigger raft, so he started building a boat. And he started making more money. Then he said, well, you know, I'm delivering people, but there's companies out here that have goods. I can take the goods on the boat wherever they want, pay me that. So he went to 1 ship, 2 ships, 3 ships, until he finally had a fleet of ships. He delivered goods all over the United States and across the ocean. He had a fleet of ships that were worth millions of dollars. In fact, he became the king of shipping. And he was filthy, filthy Rich. And then Vanderbilt sat down one day. Let me show you a picture of Vanderbilt. That's what it looks like. Look at those sideburns. That's Mr. Vanderbilt. Worth millions of
So the
dollars.
families of those big business titans still get the money today?
A lot of them still have still running the businesses. Now, Vanderbilt is pretty brilliant since he was little, always finding ways to make more money. And he sat there one day and he said, you know what? I don't think shipping is the transportation of the future. What is?
Trains.
Railroads. And so he decided to sell all his ships, every last one of them, and he received millions of dollars. Now what's he gonna do with that money?
Build railroads.
He said, now I'm gonna turn around and build railroads. I'm gonna build railroads and I guarantee you it's gonna be worth, I'm gonna be making money. But then he found out that he had a serious problem. Anybody tell me what the problem is?
Steel. Or
You got me.
where to build them?
What?
Where to build them?
You can figure that out too.
Was it a medical issue?
What?
Was it medical issue?
Was it what issues?
Medical.
Medical?
Yeah, like they got sick or something.
No, no medical issues.
The workers were building?
There was no training.
What he found out was this. He didn't have enough money.
Oh.
Did the government have enough money to build the Transcontinental Railroad?
Yes.
No, they did not. What did they do?
They had to sell them land.
Yeah, they gave the railroad companies 20 miles of land on each side of the track, right? They didn't have all the money to do it. Well, if the government doesn't have the money, I guarantee you, you don't. And he found out that he didn't have enough money. So now he says, I gotta come up with an idea because I need to raise what? I need to raise money to build the railroad. Now, in the business world, they don't use the word money. What do they call money?
Bucks.
Capital. In the business world, you hear men say, I need to raise capital. Can you loan me some capital? It's capital is what they use for money. Now, his idea is to raise money, but the question is, Vanderbilt, how you gonna raise money? How you gonna get the money that you need to build a railroad? And he doesn't know. And then he said, what if I get it from you, the people? Especially those that have a lot of money. What if you give me the money and I make you part owner? Would you go for that? Now, you're not gonna give me your money until what? No, you're not. I can't build it without your money.
Contract. No? A contract?
The what?
Contract.
No. Okay.
Let me get this. He's going to the people. He's going to the public, and probably the ones that have the most money. And he's asked you, number one, give me your money. And number two, he said, you will become part owners of the railroad. Now, if I make money, you're gonna make money too, because you're part owner.
How much?
Oh, that's a good question. So now he comes up with the idea, he says, I'm gonna do this. I'm going to sell what I call stocks or shares. to the people.